Hi, welcome to Moves That Matter. I am your host, Dr. Clyde Posley Jr., a visual voice to a new generation. I'm thankful to have you here with us as we prepare to close out the year, approaching Christmas, and just appreciate your time that you've come out on a Tuesday night. You've come out all year long. We thank you for that. Our viewing numbers have constantly gone up. Our shares have constantly gone up in terms of hitting the share button. More people are watching on Instagram. More people are watching on YouTube, iTunes, and people, even the visits to my website, Dr. Clyde Posley, where you can catch the broadcast, even they're going up. And so I thank you so much just for what you've done all year, how you've made this show becoming more of a household name in the Black culture. More people are coming on. If you can tell from my guest last week, I'm trying to bring people to you to have intellectual discussions. We are intelligence and great presentation was the hope of the slave, if you will, that we would have developed into a people as an African-American culture that would one day be able to sit at the table and not be the meal, but to have a conversation where we could hold intelligent dialogue about theology, politics, and just integrating the world into the type of place that God is pleased with. So thank you for that. Thank you for your viewership. You know what the currency is for this show. All I ask for you is to hit your share button. Help me share this broadcast, get the word out. I think the best advertisement is a great product. So if you help me get the word out, this show will go further. I want to remind you about my book, More Than Icons and Images, Uncovering the Hidden Protest Narrative of the African-American Athlete in the 21st Century. It has to do with a political voice in the sports arena. And this is not just something that started with Colin Kaepernick. Jack Johnson, the boxer from the early 1900s, Jesse Owens, Abdul Rahim Rauf, Chris Jackson, Sadell, three others who spoke using the sports arena. And of course, Tommy Smith and John Carlos on October 16, 1968, and the great and prolific metal stand protest. They fought for voice. It cost them, but it blessed our society. So, with that said, go get the book at Amazon.com. You can order it on my website, drclydeposley.com as well. I have a great topic I'm going to discuss with you today, and I have a guest with me who is well able to discuss that topic. I'm going to talk about economics in this Christmas season and how we, as African Americans and as people in general, we fall into some of the dangerous traps around the Christmas season because we buy into a system of merchandising that's designed to pull our funds, often funds we do not have. So I'll be right back to talk to you about that. You do not want to miss this conversation. And as always, comment in the comment section. I will be right back. Looking forward to this segment. Hi, we're back. And I want to take this opportunity to invite welcome my guest, Brother Greg Meriweather. We're glad to have him with us.
Yes, sir. Good to be here.
Brother, great mind, great thinking, intellectual here in our city and throughout the Midwest. I've been knowing him for over 20 years, and I have watched his intelligence about the Black culture, about Indianapolis, about politics and power and subjects just grow. He's someone that Michel Foucault would love because he's a young activist who's bold enough to speak about power and change. But listen, today I want to talk about, economics, money, and the systems that we often find ourselves locked into, Brother Meriweather, that hurt us as a culture. They hurt people. I'm speaking about all cultures, but an African-American culture, the Christmas season, is one of the most dangerous cultures because of the seasons, if you will, because one is it's based on untruths. I'm going to start with that in a second. But it also sucks us into our emotions and your finances, particularly if they're meager, can already be manipulated when your emotions drive your giving instead of principles.
Sure.
And the Christmas season is all set up to speak to your emotions. And one of the problems with that is that this whole Christmas season is just a farce. Adults watch my show, and I'm not trying to upset anybody's apple cart. There is no Santa Claus. There is not a Caucasian brother that comes down a chimney and ends up still with a clean red and white suit after sliding down soot in a chimney. He's got your alarm code. He got some kind of magical way to get past your away setting on your ADT. That is just not true. And so, but to be more specific and more serious, Christmas is this Christ Mass was set up in I think 375 AD. 325 rather AD by Pope Gregory for the express purpose of trying to Christianize what he called pagans, according to Flavius Josephus, what they call pagans, to bring them into a Christ Mass. There was not a universal 12 months around the world, even at that time. Christ was not born in December. Deca is the Greek word for 10, yet it's our 12th month. And so let me just say this. We get these 12 months. Deca, which was the 10th month, Augustus Caesar, Julius Augustus added to the Jewish calendar and pushed these extra months in, which is where we get our July and August from.
Correct.
Because Septa, which is the 9th month, is actually, would actually have been the 7th month. Septa is 7. Octa would be 8, but that's our 10th month. Right. Jesus was probably born more along Rosh Hashanah, what we consider the Jewish holiday Rosh Hashanah, in the 10th month. There would have been no shepherds in the field in December where there might have been snow. That's just not how that would have. That's just not how that would have gone on. The whole Christmas tree, you'll find in the book of Jeremiah, was erected the way it was erected to, quite frankly, symbolize the male phallus, the male sex organ, because the supposedly was a sign of fertility between the Yule god, which is where we get Yuletide from, and the moon god Isis, which is why that date was picked. December 21st started the winter solstice, and there was a celebration among the pagans. And those pagans, in an attempt to Christianize them by Pope Gregory, that December 21st date was picked then, and so they agreed upon the date of December 25th after the winter solstice, which is supposedly the beginning of winter. It's the winter festival and celebration. So the tree was erected in a symbolic, I don't want to say the word, but of fertility. Isis is the same god that was supposed to be marrying the Yuletide god every winter solstice and bring forth fertility for the crops. Isis is where we also get at the Easter Bunny concept, the Astaroth concept from. And so this is all and so they threw Jesus into this thing. The gifts that the shepherds brought, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. That part is true. They did bring gifts when they came to see the baby Jesus, but that's not connected to. There's nothing in Scripture that says give gifts to each other. If we want to give gifts, we ought to give gifts to Jesus. That's what we know that the Scripture says to us.
Right.
And so this feel-good, sexy story that draws people into this giving is often drawing people into a situation that is born from false teaching and leads them into wrong giving. And anytime giving happens, Brother Meriweather, where you only expect to receive, that's not godly.
I agree.
Why is it that our people, or that people, are so susceptible to mismanaging their money during this season?
Wow.
Buying gifts that they don't have the money for.
I think it's trained. I think it's a training mechanism. I truly believe we've been trained to give our money. I mean, but when we think about the economic structure of America, we have to realize that consumerism, there's there's a psychology behind it. We look at, in our community, we look at being a consumer as being a part of something, as opposed to consumption being to devour.
That's right.
We don't look at it and say, okay, if I'm being a consumer, if I'm looking at this as being a participant, then I'm a participant of devouring all my funds.
Right. If you think about it, in a capitalistic society, which is what we fight, in every war we fight in,
Sure.
it's about protecting our ability to remain a capitalistic society.
Sure.
The absolute necessity for a capitalistic society is consumerism.
It's consumerism.
On 9/11, President Bush went to the podium and said, listen, here's what will make everybody feel better. Go shop.
Go shop.
Go consume. He used the word consume.
Yes.
And so you brought up the structure. We are set up as a capitalistic society to use every component of the American society to promote that concept.
I agree.
And so everybody in every way needs to be, for capitalism to work, some form of consumer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the other part of that, though, for our people is when you are so far behind financially, when you're not, when we take this thing of Christmas per se, and we realize that the dollar, it takes 6 hours for the dollar to go outside of our community, whereas some people it's days, some communities days. It takes 6 hours for money to just leap outside of our community once we get it. So this is at a massive rate.
Explain that a little further for
So
my
when we
audience.
look
we
at-
get a dollar,
Yeah.
we quickly get it outside.
It goes
of
outside
the
of our
places where it can help our community.
Yeah.
Where other communities, the Hebrew
72
community,
hours,
absolutely, they
48 hours.
circulate it inside their own culture
Sure.
first, with the goal to not really push it outside.
Correct.
Right.
So when we look at, if you had a bank in New York and you wanted to put it in Chinatown, it better be Mandarin. We don't have that. We don't have that structure. We don't have the same structure as our Latino brothers and sisters where they have their stores where they can take that dollar and say, okay, I'm gonna put it over here. This is where I'm shopping and it feeds me and I feed it. Ours goes out in 6 hours.
And the greatest, I don't want to get too far away from what you're saying because it's so true, but the greatest financial cultures that we have had in the African American history
Sure.
have done just what you said. And somehow, racist white power structures destroy it every time.
Absolutely.
Oklahoma City,
Yep.
Harlem Renaissance.
Yes.
And let's be more specific. Lockfield Gardens,
Absolutely.
Indiana Avenue.
Indiana Avenue.
Somehow, mysteriously, every time what you are just saying starts to flourish, somehow, white racists, and again, please don't put in my comment section I don't like white people, that I'm fighting white people. I'm a truth bearer. And I'm not saying all white people, but somehow every time Oklahoma City was bombed,
That's right.
Harlem Renaissance was poisoned
Yes.
with heroin.
Yeah.
Tulsa.
Yeah.
Are you here? I mean, every time the Triangle in Sacramento, in L.A., the Watts, when the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense had set up systems where they could feed these children breakfast and employ these African African-Americans and to help them understand their rights with guns, and they started educating their own system. Drugs were in every time
Everything.
that an African-American culture sets itself up to start trying to create its own gas stations, its own grocery store, its own drugstore, its own schools. Why is that? Is the power of economics so dangerous?
The
to
concept
society?
is to lean on me.
Because you're taking away your ability to be a consumer for my capitalism.
That's right. So I need you to rely on me. It's still the same. It's still the same plantation system. I need you to rely on me. I feed you. I clothe you. I provide your entertainment. I do all of this. I need you to work and give it all back. That's it. And that's the concept. That's the ideal, and that's what we live today.
That's a shame.
It is the same. If you take a plantation and you say, I work, but I rely on you, my house, my clothes, my being, my food, my everything relies on you. And if I were to make money, I give it all back.
Right.
And that's exactly what we do.
And that's why, and I believe, I agree with that. I believe that's why there's not as much, not more being done about the food deserts
Absolutely.
in Indianapolis. So this money is being made and being taken back out to the suburbs to be spent.
Yes, because I would rather provide you with vehicles to go to a major market as opposed to build one in your community, because then I'm feeding the system. I'm not just feeding I'm feeding Uber, I'm feeding Lyft, I'm feeding Kroger, I'm feeding Walmart. I'm not feeding you. I'm not feeding your community.
Which are all companies, when you get to the top of the hierarchy, are all owned by about 4 or 5 conglomerates.
Absolutely. And so it is that thing of stretching this wealth gap, this 228-year wealth gap between blacks and whites. It's a thing of stretching it, because we have gotten to a point where we believe in that system more so than we believe in our own ability to create our own ecosystem.
Let me throw this at you. At this point, after you come to a knowledge of a thing, what is your responsibility? Because we can sit here as brothers who have at least some basic knowledge about the situation, if not a little more than basic. What do people need to start to do to get out of this rat wheel?
Oh man, that's a great question. But there's a simple answer. I'll give you an example. I was speaking to my son. He's a 16-year-old young man, and I said, "Hey, I want you to go to this marketplace online where everybody buys their clothes. All these major stores or designers buy these clothes, and they put their own logos on it. I said, I want you to go find a gym shoe, and I want you to pick it out, and we're going to create your logo, and we're going to put it on there, and you're going to start wearing it." He said, "I can't do that." I said, "Why not?" "Oh man, they'll talk about me in school." I said, "Really?" I said, "So you're comfortable wearing this
Another
name,
person, right,
but not comfortable enough to wear your own." And that's what has happened to us. So here's what we have to do. We have to, and this is kind of me getting wild on this subject. We can't want Idris Elba to be James Bond. We can't want Michael B. Jordan to be Superman. We have to create our own. And that's with clothing, that's with movies, that's with our stores, that's with everything. We stopped creating. We had to create during segregation.
The citadel of African American history.
There you go.
African culture, period.
We create.
Creativity, absolutely.
We have to create. We stopped creating. We start wanting to put ourselves in their shoes. We start saying, why can't Idris be James Bond? Because Ian Fleming never wrote it that way. What's wrong with Greg Meriweather writing about a black man who goes out, dresses well, drives well, but saves the world? Where's that guy? Where's our superhero? We can create, but instead we'd rather say, put on Clark Kent's cape, put on James Bond's suit, as opposed to saying, why can't you build your own? One of the things I said about the movie Black Panther that disturbed me, because there was a teachable moment in there that we didn't really catch, was the fact that Wakanda had all this technology, but when it came down to getting the car, it was a Lexus. But you never had a black manufactured car. So why didn't that come in the movie? To say there's a Wakanda mobile. We have created the first black manufactured car in the world, because then it stimulates the mind to say there's not one and I should create it. I challenge people all the time. Walk in your house, grab your kids, walk through the house, open the closet, open the drawers, tell me what's black in there. And then tell me, why shouldn't we create it? Where are the blinds? Where are the refrigerators? Where are the stoves? Where are the windows? Where's that stuff? Where's the silverware?
Why do you think that's a problem? That's basic truth, and why do you think that more in our culture don't seek to? And there's some that do. We have FUBU, we have other.
Sure.
But you're thinking it's just the tip of the iceberg. Why is that not more prevalent?
It's not more prevalent because we have been trained not to support.
Going back to what we talked about on our last show.
Well, one of the things, Pastor, that I had written an article some time ago, and the title of the article was "Where Have the Rows Taken Us?" When you picked cotton, it was competition because whoever had the least took the lashes. So therefore, I didn't work with you.
Wow.
I competed against you.
That's right.
So therefore, I don't help you become better because I'm not looking at you as me.
And there's a perpetuation of that.
It lives in us.
In everything, absolutely.
In everything
right.
we do. And we have to break
Pit
that
us
cycle.
against us.
Yes.
At its basic form.
Yeah.
And so that trains us in our mind to create a need to step on our brother and sister.
Absolutely.
Because the very basic forms of instruction in our mind on American soil required that you mistreat your brother on plantations.
Absolutely.
Not just that, with slave catchers, with slave catchers and all of that stuff. Before we brought over the Scotland Yard concept of police, we used black slaves to catch other black slaves.
Absolutely.
Right.
So when you think about this, you say we don't look at if you create this clothing line, the first thing that will come out of one of our mouths is that's yours, and I'm not helping you get rich.
It's still ours.
But we don't look and say, I've made Ralph Lauren a billionaire. We don't look and say, I made Tommy Hilfiger a billionaire. But we look at you and say, because you're close. And I say, I'm not helping you get rich. Why?
Wow.
But all of a sudden, my mentality makes me feel like I have something when I wear Ralph's name.
Again, there's the competition. I'm better than you.
Better than you.
Right.
Even if I can't afford it. If I have the resources, even though it's not affordable, there is something called having the resources, yet things are not affordable.
Right.
We take resources and it's still not affordable to buy things to make us feel like we're better than the next black person. We don't go upward. We go this way.
So let's talk about three quick things that can be done in this season that makes us better stewards over the resources we do have.
Sure.
I'm gonna start with one and then give you the other two.
Sure.
Stop purchasing for the benefit of your emotions.
I agree.
We have to stop spending our money based on trying to feel better about ourselves with an object.
I agree.
There are people spending money on trees, spending money on buying their kids different things, and I'm for taking care of your kids. But if you how you're going to feel when the bill comes and you don't have the money. When that credit card bill comes, or when your house gets behind or your car gets behind, and you are just looking at a bunch of money you spent that you know you did not have. If you want to feel good now so you can feel good later.
I agree.
Don't just spend your money to feel good now, only to suffer later. That's one thing we could do.
I think the other thing is we have to realize what activism is as it relates to economic growth.
Okay.
It is not, because here's again, when you look at who can control the narrative, you'll find that they control the narrative to the degree of our economic failure. Stop paying for movie theaters. Stop going out here buying these things and saying, toy drives feed into the mind that says, when I will provide you with material things until you're able to provide or to get material things yourself. It's saying, waste your money when you get it.
That's right.
I'll give you this stuff now.
But please be a consumer.
But once you get money, I need you to waste money in December as well.
That's right.
Because again, the sad part about this system is they're causing people to say, you're not a participant. You're not living. Because you can't have, you're missing out on Christmas. You're not able to blow money.
Yeah.
So we got to watch that. The other thing is that I would say, and I read a book years ago called Buffettism, and they said Warren Buffett always gave stock. Invest. I'll tell you this: if we started investing more, things will change. See, we if you want to get in the game with them,
That's right.
get in their business.
That's right.
Because once you get in their business, then the profits that they get, you get.
That's a fact.
That's the
I
game.
know that to be true.
So we have to be able to say, okay, I remember years ago I showed where Nike stock was $50. And I said, the stock is cheaper than the shoe. But the reward is far greater,
absolutely.
if you invest in the business and not the shoe.
That's right.
So we have to be wiser with our dollar because we think that it costs a lot of money to invest in these companies, which it doesn't. It's
right.
just a longer game.
That's right.
And I think that we have to understand that if we want to do something to help or to increase or to elevate our economic powers, then start putting our money in places where it can grow.
And you can reach some return and pleasure on
Absolutely.
Money and stay in the game longer.
Stay in the game longer.
Man, thank you. Great job, man.
Always great
job.
Man.
I appreciate your presence here today. Love this brother's thinking, love his mind, love him. Been knowing him for over 20 years and just appreciate what he is and what he represents for our community. We need more brothers with intellectual stance and reason and logic to help us all because, listen, as been said before, the Calvary's not coming, and we've got to help ourselves with intellect, spirituality, and trusting in the God we serve. Listen, as I always close this show, I want to tell you something. In life, you are constantly making moves. Sometimes you're forced into moves. Other times you have to choose to move. Since we have to be making moves constantly anyway, why don't you make your moves that matter? I'm your host, Dr. Clyde Posley Jr., a visible voice to a new generation. It's been my pleasure to serve you this year. Looking forward to a stellar year of great guests. We have some great things lined up for you in the coming year. God bless you. I look forward to seeing you soon.